things happen.
Gotta
All
love it.
right, guys. I want to do something a little different today because I want to talk about what current Texans, he actually just re-upped with the Texans, tight end Dalton Schultz stated about the Cowboys. He basically called them a zoo. So I actually want you guys to hear the interview. Okay, hear the interview, and then it's going to be a little lengthy. And then I have one from Michael Irvin as well. And then I just want to talk about how this impacts the team. All right.
All right.
All right, so let's get into it now. I'm going to play it right now for you guys. Here it comes.
National TV every single week. Practice facility is filled with people paying for tickets for practice. Like it's a whole different world allegedly.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed? Obviously you enjoyed your time in Dallas. I'm not going to say that, but when you get to Houston, is it vastly different than your time in Dallas? Whenever you're talking about all the off the field, is it? Is that real?
It's that was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me is like. It feels like much more, I don't want to say college because it's not, but like the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and like telling some people like how kind of being around the Cowboys, like practice facility and, game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis, like surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, like that actually happens like at a practice facility and like, it's just you think it's normal, and then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but like, what are you?
No, dude, it's just like there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room, and they've got like a one-way mirror for people to like look at. Like it's a zoo, dude. Like, there's people tapping on the glass, like trying to get people's attention as they're doing, power cleans or whatnot, and. It's different. And I mean, that's the brand that they've built. That's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way that they run things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you don't realize like how many, eyeballs and how much that can maybe, distract from, stuff just in the locker room, being in the facility until you go somewhere else. And you're like, holy crap. Like, dude, there's none of that. Like, this is, also a really well-run organization in Houston. And I think that was one of the things that kind of scared me about like leaving Dallas the most is like I wasn't sure what another organization would kind of feel like. And dude, I got here and it was like this place is a well-oiled machine. Like it's, coaching staff, the coaching changes. I can't speak to the previous stuff, but like the strength staff is phenomenal. The training staff is.
All right. So I just want to get your thoughts. Actually, before I even bring in our second video, I just want to get your thoughts on what Dalton Schultz stated, because a lot of people were going crazy. More specifically, probably Cowboys fans. Let's be real, but a lot of people were going crazy. Do you think this is a big deal? You know what, KSAP, I'm gonna start with you. You're our guest. I'm gonna start with you.
Man, to me personally, it's no big deal. I mean, Dalton Schultz ain't say nothing wrong. Dalton Schultz has said things that Cowboy fans already know. Like they stated, the Cowboys are supposed to be America's team. I don't know where they get that from, but at the same time, he said nothing wrong. And the reason why I said he said nothing wrong, because I've seen it firsthand. They have the practice facility right down the street from where I stay. So if you go to the practice facility and they're practicing, they're giving tours all day long. It's the interaction between the people. Anything that's surrounding Jerry Jones is going to be a media spectacle. And that's the problem I have with the Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones will not let his people run the organization the way it's supposed to be ran. Jerry Jones is in the way. Now, when I say that, exactly, he's all about the money. So if it's anything about the money, he's going to do it. And that goes to the stadium in Arlington, the $1 billion playpen. Now, when you're out there at the game or anything like that, and if, there's tourist attractions, they're giving tours all day long. So it's almost like Dalton Schultz didn't say nothing wrong. It's no big deal to me because Cowboy fans already know what it is with the Cowboys. When you got anything associated with Jerry Jones, it's about the money, and Jerry Jones is going to go get that money. He's not going to stop that money flow coming in because of the fact that you don't want nobody touring this $1 million practice facility that you built in Frisco at the Star. So when you're out there practicing, you're giving tours all day long. Even with the stadium, you're giving tours every day of the week. So it's going to be interaction. So, like I said, me personally, it's no big deal. Dalton Schultz did not say nothing wrong. So we just need to keep it moving.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, K-Zab. I don't think he said anything wrong. I know a lot of people got in his feelings because he's no longer with the team. That's what it is. He's just no longer with the team. He's representing a different part of Texas. And it's a little rivalry over there, I guess, between Houston and Dallas, who runs Texas. But he's just telling his truth. He's telling his truth. You know, he's saying that there's so much other things that it seems is kind of, I'm not going to say a disturbance or a disruption to the team, or I'm sorry, distraction, but it's present, right? It's present, and they're made aware of what's going on, as opposed to him being currently in Houston and it's all about football. Everything's about football. The full focus is on football. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Kay for sure, and I kind of disagree as well, because of the fact of the matter is, when you're football, when you're talking about NFL players, it's a fraternity, and you keep everything, and you try to keep everything in house as much as you possibly can. I know Dalton Schultz is no longer with the Cowboys, but at the same time, you want to protect the shield, as they call it. You want to protect, what goes on, in the locker rooms, things that happen, on the back end of it, especially, you want to protect it from, guys like us, because we need that stuff to talk about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you hear that stuff and you go to a different organization, and by the way, this is a small little tidbit here, a small little shout out to Dalton Schultz, because I think he was referring to D'Amico Ryans. This is a different kind of program, different kind of organization. Where did he come from? San Francisco. Just saying, I just wanted to throw that in there. but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with it personally, to be honest with you, because when you bounce from when you go from one team to another, you're always compared. You're always going to be, and I don't care who you are, you're always going to be asked, what's the difference between this organization and this organization, things of that nature. What did you like about this organization? What do you dislike, and so forth and so on. So with that being said, yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but I do have a problem with it if I'm able to do that, if I'm able to tote the fence, if you will, to tote the line, if you will. I know you can't, but I'm on that fence. Can I be on the fence? Can I be on the fence here, okay? But I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. But I guess when you leave that organization, and you have to compare apples to oranges. A lot of people say, yeah, it's still fruit, but one way or the other. I get why, because I know he was posed that question. What's the difference between being here and being there? Everyone gets that once once they're traded, or once they sign with another team. So to answer the question, I guess if I'm going to have to one side of the fence, I'm going to say I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem.
Jay, now you're somewhat, as you say, of a Dallas fan, I guess. Sometimes, actually, not in over 30 years. But how did you feel when you heard Dalton Schultz? He's a former Cowboy, like K-Walk says, it's a fraternity, it's a brotherhood. You're supposed to kind of keep that in house. How did you feel him calling the organization a zoo?
Here's the thing. I don't mind a guy voicing their opinion. I'm totally fine with that. The issue that I would take with it, if he's saying, because the way the organization is run, that's why the Cowboys aren't winning. Like, I would take issue with that if that's what he's trying to insinuate. If he's just pointing out differences, that's fine. There's differences amongst all the other teams. The organizations run themselves differently. But if he's saying the Cowboys don't win because of the distractions, because it's a zoo, I would take issue with that, because I would counter that by saying Jerry's been running the team like that ever since he's been there. And if it was good enough to win in the 90s, then I don't know that that's the reason why they're not winning now. So I would always just go back to and say, it's players. Like, players decide if you win or lose, and there's different ways to do it. Like, we hear so much about the Patriot way, right? When Belichick was there, and they did things a certain way, and everybody, the Patriot way wins, but they also had Tom Brady. And when Tom Brady left, now the Patriot way is not so good anymore, right? So I don't know if it's because it's a zoo, the Cowboys can't win. I just think Jerry chooses to run his organization like that. And they had some success a couple decades ago. They haven't been good enough to get it done now. But I don't take issue with Schultz's opinion, because that's really all it is. It's just his opinion about the two places that he's been.
But
Well,
Jay,
Jerry-
with that being
Okay,
said, Jerry won when he first got there.
Yeah.
But look, we got that. Back then they had pagers and beepers. Now
Thank
we got
you.
cell phones and stuff like
Exactly.
that. You got to change with the time. You got to roll
Yeah.
with the, roll with the
Yeah.
punches, if you will, man, because that stuff is not working anymore for him. To be honest with you.
And I will say this before Brittany goes.
Go ahead.
I'm had to piggyback off what Kevin said. Back in the 90s, it wasn't none of this going on. I mean, I understand you saying he was running the organization the way he was running the organization, but now we've elevated.
Yes.
Technology
Yes.
is booming. You know what I'm saying? State-of-the-art facilities. We didn't have none of this. What basically Schultz is saying is the when he's saying the zoo part of it, we got to keep it in context, is when you're at practice, you got all these tourists coming in and out of your facility while we in there practicing. So when Dalton Schultz said that, in that context, I don't think he said nothing wrong. Back in the 90s, Jerry didn't have that $1 billion playpen. You know what I'm saying? He had the stadium at Irvin. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have all this state-of-the-art stuff. That's what I think Dalton Schultz was saying. So when he gets to Houston, when you talk about DeMeco Ryans, a well-oiled machine, he's keeping the main thing.
And I hear that. I guess the only thing I would say is, to me, as if I was a player, I don't think that would be distracting. Like, I wouldn't care if I'm at practice, I'm practicing. Like, I don't care who's there. I don't care who's on the sideline. I don't care who's watching. On a much smaller scale, but when I was at Penn State, we would have people at practice all the time. Adam Sandler was at our practice. George H.W. Bush was at our practice. Like, there was people in the facility all the time. It never felt like a distraction. It was just part of the process. And I would just have a hard time believing that professional athletes are at practice, game planning, working on whatever, and they're like worrying about like who's getting a tour of the facility. I just don't think it is as big as impact as maybe people might think it is.
So I got another video to play, and it's Michael Irvin speaking to this. And then my next question, I'll tell the question now. Could the coach impact this as well? And so let me play the video, and then you guys respond to it, okay? Here we go.
It's such a tight ship. Jerry wanted to make football bigger than life, which is what he's basically done. And he wanted to bring in princes and everything. Jimmy wanted that locker room door closed, especially if we lost. He was not in any mood to let Jerry bring all these people around. And I think that was what started it.
So as you could see, you had Jimmy Johnson back in those days who ran a tight ship. So that's probably part of the reason why they were able to win those. Well, I think there was 3 Super Bowls. There was 3 Super Bowls with him, with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
So he ran that tight
2 with
ship.
Jimmy and 1 with Barry
Switzer.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't have that coach right now. They have more of the I'll do anything you want type of coach. I'm just trying to please the ownership. Jimmy Johnson said, I'm here to win championships. So K-Walk, do you have something to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Michael Irvin, man, he's a diehard Cowboy fan. He's going to sit there and give you that rah-rah speech, no matter if he's in the huddle, if he's at the bar, or if he's on the if he's on the set of whatever show he's talking on. Yeah, it's basically what we've been talking about. It's Jerry's world. Jerry he said in the beginning he wants to make football bigger than life. What does that? Money. And then and as K-Sap alluded to, is that the fact of the matter is he wants we have these tours and they have these tours and things of that nature. But what brings that money? In order for you to have that money, you have to pay these superstars and things of that nature. So with that being said, I mean, Michael Irvin knows better than anyone. I mean, but he's been in there. Before we got on air, KSAP talked about what went down pretty much in Jerry's world, if you will. So anytime you talk about Jerry's world, you're going to talk about the money, the distractions, things of that nature. And then obviously, what's going on right now with them right now, and they haven't made any moves, in free agency whatsoever, especially from a running back standpoint. But yeah, I mean, what Michael Irvin said, you got to listen to him because he knows, he was there, firsthand, and he knows exactly what Jerry's about. And we see it from the outside looking in. We see it as what Jerry's about. We all know that Jerry doesn't want to give up that GM status, things of that nature like that. He does, and I think that's his ultimate, his I don't want to say downfall. I guess a lack of a better term or lack of a better word is his Achilles heel. To be honest with you, he doesn't allow guys to be, he's the business guy. He should be fall back and be that business guy and let the football guys be the football guys. And I think that's ultimately his Achilles heel. Hope I answered the question, by the way.
No, you did. Kate said, you look like you want to say something so bad.
Man, K-Walk, man, hey, you said that so eloquently, man. And I'm going to echo every word that you said, and I'm going to take it a step further. If you go back and listen to the Michael Irvin interview, he said one thing that stood out. When Jimmy Johnson was here, he ran a tight ship. Just like Brittany said, they got 3 NFL Super Bowls out of that time that he was in Dallas, right? So he kept everything in-house. And what Kevin Walker said was Jerry Jones wants control. And if Jerry Jones don't got control, what happens? You see, he gone. Then you brought Barry Switzer in there. He got one. Now you got Mike McCarthy running the show, but you got total control over Mike McCarthy. So when you have total control over your head coach and your head coach can't coach these players, and then everybody goes in the media, well, what's wrong with Mike McCarthy? Everybody knows the answer, but they just don't want to say it. Right. It's Jerry Jones. Yep. And like you said, Michael Irvin knows firsthand, he's been in the Cowboy locker room. He's played with the Cowboys. Now he's the biggest Cowboy fan there is. Rah-rah, pom-poms, everything. Yeah. But like Kevin Walker said, that's the common denominator is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones wanting all this control. Jerry Jones is about that money. And when he can't get his way, what happens? They out of there.
Actually, guys, I hope he continues to get his way because every time he gets his way, they don't win. So I'm cool with that. It's been going on the last 20 semi years, well, almost 30 years. So I'm okay with that. But Jay, because you were saying he had ownership of the team in the 90s when he won the Super Bowl, but the coaches make a difference. And there's a reason why Jimmy Johnson left because he got tired of Jerry Jones's antics. Your final thoughts on this? So
I would counter that by saying there's more than one way to win. There's very hard-nosed coaches. There's loosey-goosey coaches. Both have won over the course of history. Yeah, Jerry Jones was a tough, hard-nosed coach, but Barry Switzer wasn't.
Jimmy Johnson.
And they won with him the next year. So I'm not so sure that just being hard-nosed is the common denominator. I would take it back to players, that if you have the best players, you have a good chance to win regardless of some of the outside things. The other thing I would say is sometimes I agree with what you guys said about Jerry, but I also think that maybe he gets a little bit of a bad rap on some stuff. Like, do we really think Jerry is sitting there game planning with the head coach? I don't think that. Like, do we really think Jerry is saying, hey, on third down, we need to run this, or hey, let's dial up this blitz on second and long? Like, I just don't think he's involved in the day-to-day coaching. Yes, he wants to be in control. Yes, he wants to be the front man, but are we really suggesting that Jerry's involved with the game plan and he's the reason why the coaches have come up short? Because for me, that's a bridge too far.
I'm not saying that's the reason why they're coming up short. The thing about Jerry Jones is you got a nice facility out there. You got $1 billion playpen. You're setting up in your box, right? I've been in his suite. So, in the course of the game and the things are not going correct, what does Jerry Jones do? He always want to make his way down to the sidelines. You know what I'm saying? That attention on Jerry Jones is just, he needs control. After every game, the first thing these reporters do is stick a mic in front of Jerry Jones's face.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, he don't even let his coaches really coach. I know what you're saying, Jason, about, Switzer wasn't a hard-nosed coach and they got a Super Bowl championship. But at the same time, what Michael Irvin was saying is when you're running a tight ship and you're keeping everything in-house, then your program is going to run a little smoother. That's just like in all sports. You want everything to stay in the locker room. You don't want nothing to get outside the locker room. You don't want this extra chatter. And that's basically what this all stems from. And I think that's what Dalton Schultz was alleviating to, when he said it's a zoo, because it's a national spectacle because of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, look, I think what Jerry Jones does, as to what K-Sap alluded to, he always got to talk right after the games. The mic is right in his face, and he's willing to answer the question.
Exactly.
I feel like that puts a lot more pressure on your players, unnecessary pressure in my mind. I think it gets to a point where they can't just focus on football, and I think that's what these players just want to do. Now, granted, you're in the entertainment system. They do know it's a little bit more than just football, but at the end of the day, when you come into practice or when you go into, let me say, when you go into your gym facility at at Dallas Cowboys practice facility, and you lifting weights, you don't want to constantly hear tapping on the wall and fans screaming at you. You want to stay as focused as you can to hopefully get to the Super Bowl. And that's not what's going on here in Jerry's world. And I think it won't happen until Jerry decides to step down and allow people who just want to focus on football be the main focus. Because at the end of the day, Dallas is a huge city. It's a huge city. It's going to get its fans. Dallas fans, they love their Cowboys regardless. So you don't need all the added
Jay, you're not allowed to.
all the unnecessary. You don't need all that added spectacle stuff, to try to bring attention to the team. It's already has attention brought to it, so just don't have the added pressure to the players, and I think it does. K-Walk, any final thoughts before we move on to our next topic?
Nah, I'm just convinced that Jay's a Cowboy fan because when you were talking, Britt, he was nodding his head. He was like, "Yes, you're right, Britt. Yeah." So Jay, you're not allowed to jump ship, man. I don't care how bad it looks like it's going to sink. You're not allowed to jump ship, man.
I'm on board now, man, because I be on this show every week fighting for my life when we're talking about the Cowboys. So I'm on board now. I'm on board. I'm rolling with them again, K-Walk.
No, you got to have somebody to go against you, Jason, man. I'm not here for that Cowboy stuff, man.
Right.